When I grow up, coach, what are you gonna be when you grow up? Hi everyone! Welcome to my interview with the lovely and amazeballs, Kate Swoboda from Your Courageous Life. Hooray! I've been doing this lately. Round of applause in a circle. Give us some background, Kate, in terms of just like history of you and like what led you to decide to be a coach.
I began coaching in 2006, and the program that I went to was the Interchange Counseling Institute in San Francisco. And coaching was something that the genesis of which grew out of being actually an English professor and noticing that the most fulfilling thing I got out of being an English professor was definitely not the grading and definitely not lecturing for a few hours, but like those moments when a student would come to me and they would talk to me about something going on in their life, and I felt like I could be of service to them in some way. That was what really lit me up. And I had seen people talk about coaching, and I had kind of considered going to school to become a therapist. And then I found this amazing program in San Francisco that was actually a counseling, coaching, hybrid training that even got into like working on issues of like body oppression and social justice and how institutionalized forms of classism and all the isms are a factor and how people are how they are. And I thought, wow, like this is the work that I really want to do. I went to like an introductory night and I signed on the dotted line that night. I was like, I know that this is what I want to do, because just the intro night was so powerful. And I started my practice. And for many years, it was just like a side hustle to my regular job. And then I decided in 2009 that I really wanted to make this my main hustle with regular job as the side hustle that I would keep around part-time just to have like health insurance and all that good stuff. And that's where it's grown ever since. And you mentioned the Coaching Blueprint, and in 2011 I launched the Coaching Blueprint 1.0 after many coaches were asking, how the hell do you actually make money doing this? Like, is that even possible, or is that just something that, like, you know, CTI told me when I signed up?
Right.
Something. And it's like, yes, you can actually make money at this. And now more questions have come in, and there's more content and more great coaches I'd like to interview. And so I'm releasing version 2.0 October 4th.
Yay! I have to say, I see coaching as almost a profession comparable to acting, which is what I used to do, where it was some horrible figure like 1% of the actors that are in the union are actually like employed for more than 20 weeks a year or something like that. And I don't know. I wonder what the coaching numbers would be, because I do think that there are probably the vast majority of people who are trained coaches and go to do this full time aren't making enough to live on.
And I think there's a reason for that, actually.
Tell us.
And I'll babble about it.
Yes, please.
This is one of those things, and it can be a little controversial for me to talk about. I think that the coaching industry, not one particular coaching organization, but the industry in general, really needs to actually step up to a higher level of integrity.
Amen and hallelujah. Preach it, girl. Preach it.
Yeah,
Preach
because sometimes I run into coaches who are like rabid about coaching, and if I say anything about coaching or the industry that's like slightly, this isn't quite right, they're very like, well, what if it's, And so I'm thrilled that you agree.
I'm on your level.
I didn't want to have my dukes up against Michelle Ford, so. I think that the industry really needs to be more in integrity. And there are a couple of things that, to me, are important around that. Like, for instance, there's a major coaching training organization, not the one I attended, but another one who I won't name because I don't want to call anybody out. And on their questions, their FAQs, there's a question like, how, do coaches really make money, basically? That question is asked. And when they answer the question, they say something like, most coaches charge between $150 to $250 per 30-minute session. And I'm going, that doesn't answer the question, first of all.
Right.
And if somebody's not really reading carefully, they might think, oh, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
I paid $250 doing 30-minute session. And second of all, I could be wrong, but I don't actually think I know any coaches who make $250 off a 30-minute session. Like, I don't think the market is actually skewed that high. I see most coaches making approximately $100 for an hour-long session. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, but that's about the range. And so there is a very wide expanse in terms of like the emotional energy you put out for your clients.
Yes.
Like 30-minute session is a very different deal than an hour.
Right.
You know, 6 30-minute sessions is a different ball game than 6 one-hour sessions.
Oh my God.
Emotionally, and like how much work you put in and the deep listening. So basically, I think that the industry as a whole really needs to step up its integrity around really portraying the success rates of graduates accurately. This same website that I looked at also, you know, it was talking about like how many coaches are successful. And I think they answered the question by saying something like, you know, 90% of all clients surveyed said that they felt coaching was a worthy investment. That does not
answer the question.
To question, it doesn't say whether or not that graduate was able to move from their old job to their new one and still pay the mortgage and feed their kids. So I think a lot of coaches are misled, and then they get burnt out. They get out there, they get overwhelmed, and then they get burnt out trying to make it. They burn through their savings, or they quit their jobs too quickly. So that's my long-winded answer.
I wish that we could just like petition the International Coaches Federation, and I feel really strongly, and I think this goes hand in hand exactly with what you're talking about, that there needs to be a lot more regulation, and there needs to be follow-up of people calling themselves coaches that aren't trained. I get on my soapbox when, and I work with clients who say this, and they say, oh, I want to you know, I know that I'm really good at helping someone write their copy, and so I want to be a writing coach. And I kind of go, okay, well, do you want to be a coach? Do you want to be a consultant? And I think a lot of people don't really know the difference. When you're trained, that's when you're really learning the difference, and you're learning those tools, and there are tools and skills and things you need to, I feel, be trained in order to be a coach and be called a coach. So I wish there was more repercussions for someone that calls himself a coach. They need to either have some sort of training or some sort of proof that what they're doing is actually coaching, and I think that'll bring the reputation of the whole field up, and also the awareness of what we do up. And I think you're 100% right in terms of, you know, our coaches, how many of our graduates are successful. And that's so convoluted because that means something different to everyone. But if there was a real sort of streamlined piece of, okay, this is, yes, you might make $250 in 30 minutes, but I think of the only people making that are people that work with corporations. And are you going into companies? And like, that's great and good for the people that want to do that. But if you're not interested in working with big companies who have big money, then that's not really going to happen. And it's going to take you a while to get there. So I think you're right. And we have similar stories in the fact that I stayed at my day job for 2 years and 7 months while I got certified and built my business. And that was absolutely 1,000,000%. The foundation for why I'm here, you know, over 2 years later and able to pay my bills and contribute to a Roth IRA, which I've never had before in my life, and, you know, do these grown-up things. So I'm with you, and I'm glad that at least the coaching blueprint addresses this stuff and hopefully will help someone on their way to coaching in a different look at the business side of things, because that's the whole piece. I mean, we're entrepreneurs as much as we are coaches, and we need that marketing piece and we need the sales piece, and I know sometimes we just want to coach, so we need those pieces to kind of help us along.
And related to that, anybody who's watching this, first of all, don't use coaching as your life raft from a job you hate.
Yes.
Like, that's what I think ends up happening is a lot of people don't really like their jobs, and then coaching lights them up, and then they go, 6, 8, 10 clients, that shouldn't be so hard to get, right? That's actually, I don't want to say hard, because as soon as I say that's hard to get, you know, you'll get someone in your comments who's going to be like, well, I had 6 clients right now, what she's talking about. But most of the people that I've spoken with, to get 6, 8, 10 clients like consistently, to have a situation where as soon as one client leaves, another one's pretty much coming along to fill that space. For most people, that does take time. So I actually think that the best way to go about this is to have a steady job while you're doing this. And one of the things that I really make sure to address in the coaching blueprint is, how do you navigate the emotional terrain of working for yourself? How do you work with money? Like, I meet a ton of coaches who, like, they feel afraid to charge what they want to charge because they're like, I feel bad because I'm charging money and I'm helping people, and I sort of feel like the honorable thing to do would be to help them for free or something. You know? And related to training, though, you know, I have worked with some really amazing coaches and counselors who were not trained. They were trained by life. And talking like most amazing people. And so I tend to fall into the camp of 90% of people do need some kind of training. I hesitate a bit about regulation because I did do one semester in graduate school to become a therapist, and I'm now a graduate school dropout. The hurdles that they make you jump through to get your marriage and family therapy training, in my experience, just really drain the life out of the program because there's so much focus on what the state wants you to take care of. I would like some kind of a hybrid. I don't think that individual coaching organizations who get together and say, we're going to charge you a membership to say you belong to our organization, is quite the answer. There's something that we all have to collectively figure out about how to really establish, like, who's doing great work, how can we really have a coaching code of ethics that everyone's really subscribing to, and yet at the same time, like, I would never want any of the people who have been so much help to me to, like, sort of be required to go back to school in order to continue working with me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I feel like this could be a whole different discussion. But, you know, the people who, training could be one route that someone could go on to be a coach, but I feel like if someone is calling themselves a coach, then there needs to be someone kind of looking at that and saying, are they really a coach? I know I get frustrated, like, especially with clients or prospective clients that come to me that say, like, oh, well, I worked with a coach and she told me that I couldn't make a living doing this. Or, like, I worked with a coach. I had someone earlier this week that said, oh, well, I've worked with a coach before. And she just basically told me that, like, I had to be me and I wasn't, like, being myself the right way. And I was like, what? So that's just where my frustration comes in. At this point, what would you say for someone that has just decided, I want to be a coach? Things are so new. They have maybe done a little bit of research. They're trying to figure out, what's my path? What's my route? What would you suggest for them to do?
I would suggest that they start working with people as soon as possible. I would even suggest that before they sign up for, I've seen training programs that are as high as $15,000. Yeah. That is not how expensive mine was.
Right.
Before you sign up for a program that is that expensive, really work with people and do some sample sessions for friends and things like that. I'm sure if you Google some things online, you can find a couple of, like, you know, ideas for what kind of questions to ask to run, like, a sample experimental session, and really make sure that it's something that you want to do. And really see how you feel after you do these sessions. Another thing that I would ask people to really consider is, before you even get your training, a question I ask in the coaching blueprint is, what do you want to revolutionize in the world? Because I think that points you towards who you uniquely want to work with. Because I don't believe that you have to have a specific market niche, but you at least have to have a perspective or some kind of idea about what you want to do with people beyond just helping them to live good lives. Like, I'm over at yourcourageouslife.com. Anybody who lands there, just from the title, they're going to see that one thing I really want to work with people on is how they handle fear and how to practice courage. And that doesn't mean that every single person who comes to me vocalizes that as the thing they want to work on, but it's always some part of the work. And you're over it when I grow up coach. And so even though there are probably people who pack in a couple of, side goals, larger life goals they're doing with you, or there's emotional terrain that comes up in their work with you that's just part of the work.
Right.
Kind of have this focus. And so I really think that coaches who enter and they just go, I really love working with people and helping them rediscover their passion, for instance. Like, so overdone. So what about rediscovering your passion do you specifically want to help people with? Do you want to help people rediscover their passion as in getting a new career? Do you want to help people rediscover their passion as in look at why they were so fearful at the age of 20 that they never pursued the career the career they really wanted, and they went off in some other direction?
And you talk to so many fantastic coaches who are all making a living, doing what they love. How important is niche? I'm hoping that you're giving me the answer that I want on this. Otherwise, I'm going to have to get off my Uniquity soapbox.
I don't think it's an absolute. Here's what I do think is necessary. Rachel W. Cole said this to me when I interviewed her. She said, you don't have to have a niche, but you have to have a perspective. And I thought I think that's really true, because certainly people have come to me and said, I want to lose weight. And people have come to me and they've said, I want to refocus my career. And people have come to me and they said, I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm getting a divorce.
Right.
And I'm not a health coach, a career coach, relationship coach, but that all falls under the perspective of how do I practice courage in the face of this decision I'm trying to make. I also would add to that, you either need to have a niche, a perspective, or a personality. Because if you have a strong personality, if the way that you talk about living with passion is something that you're just a natural leader and people get on board, then that's going to be something that draws people to you. I think a lot of coaches, though, don't really develop those things. And it's not even about development. Just be who you are.
Yeah.
That's show up naturally.
Yeah.
But one of those three things has to really be prominent. Ideally, all three would be prominent together. I think that's when you see the most success showing up, when all three are working in conjunction. And, there's always going to be somebody who defies all of those and who just, it's like a karmic thing. And I love that too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that opens up so many things for me. I love how you and Rachel put it. It's a niche, it's a perspective, or it's a personality. And hopefully that allows people to kind of sigh a little bit, because when you're a new coach and it's been drilled into you, you need to find your niche, you need to find your niche, you need to find your niche, and you're someone who's creative, or you're someone that's more of a Renaissance soul, or you're someone that just, is resisting. There are different things that you could just kind of pick up on and throw out there. And what do you want to revolutionize? Who do you want to work with? What do you want to work with someone on? And it could be, finding courage. I love that. Is that your elevator pitch mission statement? You've articulated
I don't,
so well.
I am so for the Renaissance souls. I'm such a renegade.
Yeah.
You'll see that in the coaching blueprint. The coaching blueprint is for the Renaissance soul. I'm thinking now of adding this to the sales.
Yeah.
I don't believe in elevator pitches. I think they're bullshit, actually. I'm very like, when I was an English professor and I was at a party and someone would go, oh, what do you do? I'd be like, oh, I'm an English professor. I wasn't like, I'm an English professor who works with wham-tastic students who are today. I just kind of, if somebody asks, what do you do at a party? I'm a life coach and a writer. Oh, really? And then people have usually heard that life coaches work with specific types of people. And so from there, if they say, oh, do you work with one type of people? I'll say, I do a lot of personal growth, coaching, counseling, hybrid, and really like to work with people on specifically how they get stuck with fear and how they can practice courage, and very basic. And then it's like, I just lob it back to them. What do you do? Because I don't want to sell people on a party. They're like standing there with their toothpick and their cheese and for all that. You know?
I know what you mean, but I still kind of catch the piece of I work with people on how to, deal with their fear and be comfortable with, blah, blah, blah. I forgot exactly how you phrased it, but right there, if you needed to extract anything and kind of say, this is the niche, this is the perspective, that's what I hear.
Yeah. I mean, you could pull that and say that's my elevator pitch, but you know how, and this happened the first year of WDS, a lot, and I found it very awkward.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, you ever met, and I wrote about this for the Coaching Blueprint newsletter a while back, and I think I'm going to have it in the update about elevator pitches and how to actually talk to people about what you do in a way that doesn't feel like a,
totally.
type thing. And I was talking about how, it just would sound weird if you ever met an accountant who was like, I'm an accountant and I prepare wham-tastic tax returns for this sexy yet savvy 20-something entrepreneur. It's you'd be like, dude, why don't you just tell me you're an accountant,
Right. Although I disagree with you a little bit because I feel that there are some things that people know. I'm an English professor. Then it's everyone knows I'm an English professor. Oh, what exactly do you teach? Where do you teach? Blah, 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 blah. I feel like for coaches, people make assumptions. It's still a fairly new field. And you want to be able to get in people's heads who you work with or what you're working on in case they can, they come across someone else who is thinking of leaving their job and they don't know what they want to do next. They're like, oh, I just met that woman who's, yes, a life coach, but she works with creative people through their career transitions. Or I would love to know if there was an accountant that says, I work with 20-something, I'm an accountant who works with 20-something entrepreneurs. I'd be like, give me your card right now. I'm 34, but I would want to, I would want to work with you. So I think that I think you're totally right in terms of this, if you feel that you need to give them the guns after you say it, then it's probably not flowing right. But, and maybe it goes back to me feeling strongly that I want people, when I say I'm a coach, I want people to know what that means because there's so many assumptions about coaching that I want to really convey, this is what I do as a coach.
Maybe I could boil it down to saying, as so many things in life, it's energetic. Mm-hmm. It's somebody can use all the I statements and the nonviolent communication terms and all that, but if you're judging me, I know that. I'm not stupid.
Right.
And I think it's one of those things I think when we talk about what we do, if the energetics going on in here are that there's some kind of insecurity or a focus on people needing to understand or just whatever it is that we're carrying around it is going to affect how it comes out. So, the person who overcompensates by that is what ends up being the turnoff. Whereas the same statement delivered without that added energy is pretty important. So,
amen and hallelujah. I'm totally with you. And it's something that you could coach yourself on in a way or be coached on in terms of how do I want to say this so that I feel comfortable and I don't feel like I have to give someone the guns and it has my energy and and not that you even have to memorize it.
Right.
You don't want to be a robot, but it's just sometimes feels better and makes someone more confident. I feel especially when you're a new coach to be able to feel, grounded in the fact of I know how I'm introducing myself or I know what I'm telling people that I do or who I work with. And
that grounded is so important because if you don't feel it and really feel like you're behind it, it's just not going to feel like a fit.
1,000,000%. And as someone who built my business, and this is kind of where everyone starts, but through referrals and through specifically online living, blogging and tweeting and blah, 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 and getting the word out that way, social media and stuff like that, I feel you need to have that hook. It's a slimy word for it, but I'm going to use it anyway. Where you are able to really say and put out there everywhere, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is who I work with. And, if you could convey that in your title, if you're going by another name, if you could convey that in your logo, if you could convey that in your, marketing and your personality and your perspective, then that right there, it's just gets people who resonate with you to connect with you a lot quicker than having to kind of go through things and figure, oh, well, she's a life coach. Okay, but who really does she work with? Because I think I'm glad you brought up people know life coaches work with specific types of people. So it makes me glad that at least they know.
On mainstream, actually.
Yeah, that
life
at least
coaches
they
are
know.
appearing on reality TV.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think that now, you know, I just did a Blueprint Telejam, and, you know, I was giving someone a site review. Blueprint Telejam is like a conference, teleseminar thing that I hosted. And I did a site review for someone. I said, I don't even really think you need the What is Coaching page as much anymore. You could probably just do like one paragraph if you're really concerned that the people that you're working with aren't going to know what coaching is. But, you know, I think people pretty much understand what it is, and it becomes more so about who's the right coach for you when you're choosing to work with someone.
Yes, absolutely. That makes me feel better too, because I'm taking down my What is Coaching and my FAQ page and just wrapping it in to my offerings. So there's just a collapsible FAQ on each of like my offerings pages for my one-on-one packages and my operations, and there's a What is Coaching there, and someone could click on it and expand it and read it. But if you know what that is, what I like to do, I recorded a sample session, like a 15-minute sample session a long time ago. I need to actually probably update it with something new. And I love telling people, like, go listen. This is going to explain it better than a What is Coaching. You're going to know exactly, hopefully not only what coaching is, but what coaching with me would be like. And I would absolutely recommend that to any other coaches out there, because showing someone is way better than telling them what it is. It's sometimes hard to kind of grasp, and then they really know what they're getting into when they book time with you, and that leads to, you know, great relationships and referrals, and because they already know, like, oh, I'm going to work really well with this person. I could hear it.
And if you can't get a recording of yourself with a client, I actually think too that, you know, doing the blogging, talk about how to set up interviews with people in the coaching blueprint. You know, there are different things that are going to really give people a sense of what you're about.
Yes.
And that's going to show up in everything that you produce.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to see the new reincarnation of the coaching blueprint. I think it's so necessary, and I think it should be like mandatory for everyone that is thinking of becoming a coach. Yay! Go get it, everybody.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Everybody, and I'm totally excited to have this out in the world and give it to more coaches, because I'm just really excited to help them actually basically bypass the years of learning curve that I needed to go through, and I know you needed to go through, and like everybody else I interviewed needed to go through. Like, it's in one place now, so there you go.
Yes. Ooh, but take that as like the last thought of, you know, it's not going to happen overnight. Don't expect it to happen overnight. You and me and most of the people you interviewed, it did not happen overnight. So take that pressure off of yourself.
Right.
And just kind of know, like, you're on for a ride. You're on for a journey. I mean, I sometimes, like, beat myself up that, oh, I've been coaching since 2008. I should know better about this. But I'm like, I'm still new in this business, and I'm still, there's going to be something new to learn, and there's going to be growth spurts, and there's going to be growing pains, and, you know, just, it's that should be something, though, that excites you. Otherwise, or that you're okay moving along with. Otherwise, you might want to be a coach, but you might not want to be an entrepreneur.
Right. Big difference. Big difference.
I'll end on that. We'll just give a little goodbye. Bye. That was amazeballs.